All right, good morning and happy Sunday. It's definitely a dreary start to Sunday. So we are going to dive into the rest of the day, take a look at the storms that are rolling into our area now, and just talk a little bit more about what you can expect in terms of the rainfall for the rest of the day and then also for the rest of the upcoming week. I know you've probably heard us say for the past few days that there's more waves of rain on the way, and that is true, but I can tell you we actually are able to see the end of it here. So let's start with the sky cams, and we actually will take them all individually today instead of just using the 4-panel because there's kind of more to talk about on each one this afternoon, or this morning, I guess. You can see right now there's rain falling in Perry, and actually I had it on this one because a few minutes ago I could see a good bit of lightning strikes happening in Houston County, and you may be able to catch one of those while we sit here. But of course, now that I'm talking about it and now that we're paying attention to it, we probably won't be able to catch one. And you can see the flags moving there as well, just kind of indicating that there is still a steady to sometimes gusty breeze happening where some of these showers and storms are rolling over as well. So mainly rain right now. Luckily, we're not really talking about much in terms of really intense storms or anything that's severe. And that is, again, the scene in Perry. So we'll flip it. We'll keep it in Houston County for now, since they're kind of under the brunt of where rain is beginning to fall here. That's a look at Warner Robins. A good bit of rain has fallen throughout the day today, which we may even be able to take a look at the rainfall totals here in just a minute. And that's kind of been the main story. Again, the gusty winds from time to time, but what you can see right now, it really just looks like some light rainfall. We'll take it over to downtown Macon, where it's also the same exact scene. I guess I was thinking it was more of an individual scene between each camera, but it's relatively the same idea. Everybody's dealing with a little bit of light to sometimes steady to sometimes heavy rain. And other than that, not much else going on, which is never a complaint, especially when we are kind of under a risk for severe weather. The only one that's actually a little bit different is going to be downtown Dublin. You can see some of the clouds from a few of the individual cells out in the distance, and now actually I can pick up on a little bit of rain beginning to fall there, but Dublin hasn't quite had rain just yet all morning long, so they've actually been one of the drier spots, and I guess now the showers are beginning to fall there as well. So let's go ahead and talk more about the rest of the day here, and we'll start just with the current conditions. We will flip over to the radar in just a second, but let's actually start by talking about the current temperatures right now. Take a look at that temperature spread on the map. Can you guess maybe where rain has fallen and where it hasn't just yet? I think I can, maybe just by looking at this map here. So basically, the air that falls when the rain falls is actually a lot cooler. So you can tell that the rain-cooled air has settled in over several areas where this line has already begun to push through. This would be our north and kind of western counties here, dropping the temperatures just from Macon down to Cochrane about 8 degrees. So cooling things off a pretty good bit, and it was a really muggy start to the morning in these areas. So kind of a nice relief now that the rain has begun to fall. Elsewhere where the rain hasn't quite fallen just yet, it's going to be upper 70s to low 80s, which is actually not quite as bad as it could be, but there's certainly a lot of mugginess to make up for that. So you'll probably still feel like it's a little bit muggy outside, even though this has dropped the dew points a good bit. There's still going to be a lot of moisture in the air because the rain has fallen. So there's a lot of moisture kind of when the rain does fall and what's already existing there. But generally it may just make things feel a touch cooler, maybe a touch less stale and muggy. Elsewhere, again, where the rain has not fallen just yet, the dew points are well into this dark green category here, this very muggy, especially down there in Crisp County, which I guess is going to be the trend probably for the next few weeks or so, being below the gnat line and everything there. So really muggy air to start the morning off here, and that has just been the food that these storms need to kind of continue throughout the morning here. So it'll keep doing that, progressing further towards the southeast and just eating up whatever it can in terms of moisture and in terms of warmer temperatures down here in our south and eastern counties, which is why I'm going to keep my eye on it for the rest of the morning here. And we'll talk more about what I think in terms of severe weather potential in just a moment. But just to show you perspective of how things feel outside, yeah, if you're down there in places like Crisp, places like Wilcox or Telfair, you are already feeling like the 90s, even though you're in the 80s this morning. Elsewhere, again, where the rain has fallen, feeling a lot better, close to actual temperature in these areas. And then further towards the east, we're sitting somewhere feeling like the upper 80s. So definitely a muggy start, and there is a little bit of a breeze out there as well. A very warm breeze ahead of where this rain has come through here. And again, you can kind of see how this is picking up the wind gusts just a touch from time to time. Seeing a wind gust there in Bleckley County of 29 miles per hour, over in Lawrence County 26, and then further outside of our area up to about 18. While this line blows through, it will bring some gusty winds with it, probably some steady winds from time to time as well. We may deal with just a little bit of a breeze throughout the afternoon, but I think that will actually help the air, again, not feel so stale and so hot outside. I think generally after this rain comes through, you'll notice today is going to be a more pleasant day than yesterday. I know yesterday I chose to spend some time outside and it was really, really hot. It was the hottest day probably that we've had so far this year. The high temperature, because of the rain and probably because of lingering cloud cover, will stay a little bit lower today. So the actual high won't climb into the 90s. We'll probably see a high temperature right around 88 degrees. And actually, the rain and the showers and everything that you see right now will probably wrap up sometime by the time we head into the early afternoon. So I called it morning showers and storms because it's really just what you're going to be dealing with throughout the morning. This morning, as we head into the afternoon, it actually should be a little bit of a drier day. I know I'm hoping, again, to squeeze a little bit of outdoor time in this afternoon if I can. So with all that buildup, without further ado, let's talk about the line of showers and storms that we've seen in our area this morning. It started early, even late last night over in Arkansas, parts of Mississippi. It began to form a kind of a cluster of showers and storms as it headed into Alabama. You can see that here, and you actually can still see some good bit of rainfall happening behind it here. It is a long train of just continuous rainfall. So that started over in Alabama, and it became more of a cluster of showers and storms to the point where it wasn't so many individual cells, and that cluster pushed towards us here from the west into central Georgia, starting with a little bit more of a punch than it has now. If you take a look a little bit closer in our area and you just focus your eye in on kind of the LaGrange to Columbus area here, you can see a lot more frequency of the lightning. You can see darker red colors, so the rainfall was a lot heavier. And what you can't see is that there was a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings right along that region just before it got to us. In fact, the last severe thunderstorm warning that we saw just to the west of us was in Talbot County, and that was kind of the last one, and they never extended a warning further into us. The gustiest winds that I've seen so far this morning was over in Upton County, just to the east of Thomaston. I was picking up on wind gusts from time to time up to about 60 miles per hour. So that's close to severe thunderstorm criteria. But since then, you can just see by looking at it here how much it has really broken apart and really just continued to die down. That has been our trend, has it not? We have just continued to see these lines come in from the west, especially during the month of May, even from the north, and just really fizzle out as they enter our area. If you're really curious as to why this keeps happening to us, I think it nails down to kind of one severe weather criteria that we've just been lacking for the past several weeks, and that is wind shear. So kind of how much the direction of the winds change as you go higher in the atmosphere. We really haven't had a lot of that, and because of that, it's kept our severe weather chances really at bay. We've had plenty of moisture. We've had plenty of the heat of the day type of thing, what we call CAPE, which is convective available potential energy. We've got plenty of those, both of those things there. So that's kind of two ingredients that we've checked off. But for us to actually get these storms fired off and actually have severe thunderstorm warnings or even tornado warnings in some cases, we just really have lacked wind shear, which is absolutely a great thing. We are not complaining about not having severe weather, but if you're just kind of curious why things haven't really panned out in our area, I really think that is one of the biggest reasons. So again, that's kind of what's happened this morning. We really just haven't had a lot of wind shear, and it's made for this line to not have exactly what it needs to continue its full strength. So the winds have really fallen apart, and honestly, the rainfall is starting to scatter now. What we're left with is really just some light to, again, sometimes steady rain, mainly in our northern counties. Remember, these were the areas that kind of saw this area push through first. We've transitioned really to this light green color, which means you're probably just seeing a little bit of drizzle if you're anywhere from Jasper and Putnam all the way down into, let's say, northern Bibb, northern Crawford, and Upson counties there. A little bit further south, where kind of the brunt of the line is still pushing through here, you can notice some darker values. So over in Twiggs County, seeing some of the yellow, a steadier rain. Out towards Taylor and Macon counties, still seeing some steadier rain. Down further towards the south, just the southwest of Macon County, there's a better accumulation of lightning strikes here. So there's still a little bit gustier and a little bit more strength towards Americus and Ellaville. But again, here in our actual area, not looking so bad. And you saw kind of again, we saw this when we looked at Dublin. A few showers beginning to enter now into places like Bleckley, Dodge, Lawrence, and then slowly, this has also been a real slow mover this morning. We'll continue heading towards Trutland, Johnson, Telfair, Wheeler, and Montgomery throughout the rest of kind of the morning here. But I flipped this over to the winds just to show you that the winds haven't been so bad. Normally when we flip over to a product like this, even to the untrained eye, you can usually tell where the winds are getting pretty gusty. It's usually a bright value that stands out at you pretty loudly. The brightest value that I'm seeing right now looks to be kind of just south of Dublin here, in between Dublin and Cadwell. And I would say that just by looking at this is a wind gust that's probably close to about 40 miles per hour, if even that. And so we really haven't had a lot of warnings. The winds have stayed below severe criteria, and we've just occasionally had a little bit of a gust. And other than that, things have been not so bad. In fact, earlier I was joking with Camila at the desk because I was saying, man, I really wish this is the exact kind of weather I wish I could just be tucked away in my bed for. It's definitely perfect, lazy Sunday morning weather, and without the real severe potential, I think that is kind of the perfect activity to do this morning. But if you do have to be out, if you got to be out on the roads and no early morning service is happening this morning, or you've got to head back from service before the rain has really begun, just being aware. It does seem like we're tacking on some pretty good rainfall totals, and because I had just thought of that as I was coming on, I'll show you the rainfall totals kind of at the end of talking about all of this. So with all that being said, let's just take another refresher of where our severe weather criteria stands for today, tomorrow, and for the next day. You'll recall we're in a level 2 of 5 risk from the Storm Prediction Center for really all of our counties. I don't think there was a huge distinction between the few of our northwestern counties who were left out of this. Let's just say everybody was basically in a level 2 of 5 risk. This was to cover the bases for the chance for some of these storms to get gusty. So have some really gusty winds that could be above or at severe thunderstorm criteria. And so far that really hasn't been much of an issue. If you were watching with me yesterday, I kind of gave my personal opinion on this here, and I said I really felt like it was more like a low end level 2 and closer to a level 1. And I kind of feel the same way about what we're looking at for tomorrow. We're once again in a level 2 risk, but again, we really need to see if we're going to have the shear that we need to support any sort of severe weather in our area. There's another wave of showers and storms similar to what you've seen this morning, kind of a cluster of showers and storms that will come in from the west on Monday evening. That is what this level 2 of 5 risk is for. Kind of covers the bases for the same type of thing. The chance for any of those storms to get a little bit gusty and then maybe produce a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll see if this pans out. I'm also still kind of feeling on the doubtful side, especially considering how yesterday went when we were in the level 2 of 5 risk yesterday. We really only saw a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, and from what I was able to tell just by looking at radar scope on my phone, the winds really weren't too bad. Definitely not quite as bad as things that we've seen in the past here in central Georgia. So it would be good news if this continued to be kind of a low end level 2 risk, which I would relatively say would be the truth for tomorrow. Now heading into Tuesday, normally I wouldn't show the absence of a Storm Prediction Center outlook, but this ends up being good news for us because I was thinking we may continue to sit under this pattern for a few more days, but heading into Tuesday, it looks like a frontal boundary may kind of disrupt the pattern that we've had in our area. So a frontal boundary is kind of going to stall out just north of our area here, and it just changes the chance for those systems to kind of keep pushing in from the north and from the west. It disrupts what we have going on in our area, and that means that we are not in a risk for severe weather for Tuesday. You can see parts of Montgomery and Trutland counties are kind of outlined in this level 1, but generally I would consider them not outlined in the level 1 because of how much on the cusp they are here. So we're basically not in an outlook for severe weather for Tuesday, which means our chances for rain return to what you should be seeing for this time of year in June, the afternoon and evening pop-up shower and storm potential. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and take a look at the future view and talk about it on there. Now, like I said, we'll be dealing with this line and this cluster throughout the rest of the morning here, but then the afternoon will start to look a lot different. So heading into kind of the mid-morning hours here, maybe some light and steady rain behind the initial brunt of these showers and storms. You may occasionally hear a rumble of thunder or see a strike of lightning. And then hopefully this will all start to kind of die out as we head into the mid-afternoon here, probably sometime 2 to 3 p.m. we should start to dry out. We may continue to have some cloud cover. I'm not totally sure if the sun will totally return to us, but we will definitely be drier as we head into the afternoon. There's going to be a low end chance for maybe some pop-up showers and storms to develop behind this line, so maybe some brief or isolated rain chances heading into this afternoon, but generally I think it's something you should be able to duck and dodge if you try to get outside later today. Now heading into the overnight hours tonight, some of these pop-up or isolated showers and storms may try to linger with us into the overnight hours. If you were up late last night, maybe midnight to 1 a.m., you may have noticed there was a couple of showers and storms that lingered behind what we saw last night. Maybe a similar story into the overnight hours tonight. I think everything should probably stay below severe criteria, but we'll kind of keep our eye on that heading into the rest of the evening here. Now Monday is going to be kind of the exact opposite of today. Today we started off with a cluster of showers and storms, and we'll be finishing off the day a lot quieter. Monday, flip it on its head. There may be some isolated showers or maybe a storm or two throughout the morning and throughout the day, but generally same kind of thing, something that you should be able to duck and dodge, not a total wash of a morning or of an afternoon. Now heading into the evening and the late night hours, that's when our next wave of showers and storms starts to move in again from the west. It's the same kind of thing that you're seeing this morning. Not a ton of hard rules on it. It may look a little more organized at times. It may look more like a cluster of showers, but either way, it's going to be pushing in from the west the same way the one from Alabama did this morning, and then just kind of taking its time, sweeping across our area into the late night hours Monday and lingering with us into the early morning hours for Tuesday. I really just kind of want you to think the same thing you're seeing now. There could be a chance for some of these storms to get a little gusty, maybe produce a severe thunderstorm warning. Generally, I think we're kind of looking at the same thing as we were this morning, where the chances are not looking incredible, but there is a chance at the very least. Heading into Tuesday, remember I said this is when we start to change. We're not in a severe outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, so that just means we return to the summertime thing. There's a couple of these on the future view, which means there's a chance to catch an isolated pop-up shower or storm throughout the afternoon and in the early evening with the heat of the day, but it's going to be a lot more that you're used to seeing during June and July. Just a kind of summertime afternoon pop-up showers and storms that should be able to die down as soon as they pop up. So I included the HER model here just to kind of show you another model's thinking. I like to show you both, especially when I have extra time to talk about both models, but it's generally the same idea, especially with what we're seeing this morning. Hopefully this will all start to die down as we head into the afternoon and evening, and you're looking at what will be a better Sunday ahead of you here. And then Monday, the HER reflects the same kind of thinking as we head into the afternoon, maybe a couple of pop-up showers and storms, but it's the evening that this organized chance really starts to come in. Now the only real difference is that the HER model kind of backs this up a couple of hours. So you'll notice the graph model said around 8 to 9 p.m. is when we could see this start to enter our northern or our western counties. The HER model takes that back to about 10, maybe 11 p.m. So we'll kind of see over the next day or so how late this really ends up trending. But either way, I think it's going to be an evening or late night hour kind of situation. And then the HER model tries to keep this with us in the overnight hours Tuesday. Just for a rule of thumb, I do think the HER tends to run a little bit behind. So I usually tend to go with the timing of the graph. That would be encouraging news because that means that we wouldn't end up dealing with this all night long on Tuesday night. But again, we'll just kind of see how this progresses throughout the day today, and honestly how the line starts to form out towards our west throughout the day on Monday. That's where most of the answers really will come through. And then the HER reflects the same kind of thing. Tuesday we transition more into our typical summertime pattern, which is what you're going to see on the long range models here. You're going to see a bunch of paint splatters on there. Nothing that looks very organized or has a lot of rhyme or reason to it. That is the summertime thing. We're going to have the chance every day to have afternoon showers and storms, pop-up showers and storms. I feel like a broken record, but you know what this is. This is the same thing that we normally see during the summertime here. And again, some of those maybe could have some gusty winds, maybe even some hail. But generally, I'm hoping that our overall severe thunderstorm risk starts to die down as we head into the next couple of days here. The mugginess and the warm temperatures, those are going to stick with us. So there may be some uncomfortable days where, in fact, a shower may help you out, may actually cool things down or take some of that mugginess out of the air for just a little bit. but generally we should be entering more of a pattern that we're used to seeing for June and July. Now I'll mention that the National Weather Service did say, which, whew, fingers crossed this does not come to fruition, but the National Weather Service did say that as we head towards Friday and the weekend, there may be a slight uptick in rain chances. Right now, I haven't seen anything substantial that makes me buy into that, but it's something that I'm paying attention to as a meteorologist over the next couple of days to just kind of see what their thinking is on next weekend. So stay tuned for the end of the 7-day forecast, but that's nothing new. The end of the 7-day forecast is kind of always penciled in there. I just like to take you behind my thinking on a general day-to-day basis, especially, like I said earlier, when I have time to on the stream here. So that's kind of a look at things on the long-range models, and then otherwise, not a ton to talk about on the 7-day forecast. You're going to see, again, better rain chances. Woo, I almost fell. You're going to see better rain chances for today and tomorrow, just a bit more widespread. Heading into the rest of the day today, things should start to kind of quiet down and dry out. So hopefully you'll have a chance to actually enjoy some of your day this afternoon. Monday, exact opposite. You should have a mostly clear morning, maybe kind of a clear afternoon as well. And then heading into the evening and the late night hours, that's when your next wave starts to come through. Tuesday, total disruption of the pattern. We're not at an SPC risk as of the moment. And the 40% chance of rain that you see on there, I've done to cover the bases for a couple afternoon showers and storms that could pop up with the heat of the day. I do think there's a chance we could see a good number of these pop-up showers and storms, which is why I've gone with 40%. But generally, it won't be quite a total washout as these past couple of days have been. The temperatures, they'll stay right around average. The average for this time of year is 90 degrees. So by the end of the week, we're really sitting right at average. But for the next few days where we have a little bit more rain and maybe a few more clouds, we'll stay in the 80s. But the overnight lows in the mornings, they're going to start off a lot more like the past few mornings have, with mornings in the 70s where we climb into the 80s before too long, and probably a lot of mugginess in the morning times as well. That is just something, I love the summertime, but that is something that has taken me a little bit to get used to over the past couple of days. The other morning, I think I said this yesterday, but when I walked out the door, I genuinely had to check the time and make sure I wasn't running late for work because it was so warm, it caught me off guard. So transitioning into that a little bit, where the overnight lows are closer to the 70s than the 60s, and then before too long, you'll be totally used to it, and that will be our pattern for kind of the rest of the summer as well. June is actually not so bad. With temperatures in the 90s, upper 80s, it's not so bad. We kind of ease our way in. It's July and August that we start hammering those upper 90s, and the heat indices are well into the triple digits each day. So you kind of get an on-ramp to those kind of numbers before we hit July. So that's a look at the rest of the day. Again, I'll kind of keep my eye on this line as it progresses into the rest of our counties for the rest of the morning here, but I'm hoping by around 2 to 3 p.m. the rain should be wrapped up, and definitely our storm chances associated with that line at the very least should be wrapped up. There is a chance that you could catch an isolated shower or storm throughout the rest of the day today, but it shouldn't be something that's going to be a total washout like what you're seeing outside right now. So for now, enjoy the rain, maybe pick up a book or something, and just kind of take it easy on your Sunday morning, and we will make it through our last day of Storm Prediction Center risks heading into Monday, and then hopefully the rest of the week should stay a lot quieter. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker, and I hope you have a wonderful Sunday.